G'day, welcome back into the shed. It's Friday afternoon and I'm running a bit late with Flat Tank Friday. Had a really big week in the shed, had a really big week at home, had to go to work a couple of days, do a few things, so Flat Tank Friday is running pretty late. Had intended to ride the AJS this week but just never got to it, which is kind of the story of my life. Got absorbed by the new lathe that's appeared in the shop and did a lot of work on that for a couple of days, and that's progressing along nicely. And I've got a couple of videos about that and you can follow along and watch that if that's your thing. In lieu of going for a ride tonight, I thought I'd just give you a look at my Elliott. Made some videos for the channel early on with still pictures that I had. Doesn't seem to float people's boat, and that's fine too, people can watch what they want. Give you a walk around of my Elliott. It's an Elliott Payneham and it was made here in Australia in the mid to late teens. But we'll talk more about that when we have a look at the bike. I hope you've had a great week. Thanks for watching Flat Tank Journey and welcome back to Flat Tank Friday. Let's have a look at my Elliott and a quick walk around and a talk about it. Well, this is my Elliott Payneham. It was made by the Elliott brothers in South Australia, in Payneham Road to be precise. The Elliott brothers were bicycle manufacturers who at some stage in the early teens, about perhaps 1911, 12, made some motorcycles. They appear to have made them on into the mid-20s before, for some reason, they stopped. Perhaps they thought there wasn't a dollar in it. And they went back to making bicycles, and did so for some years later. This bike came to me from an eBay listing. I had saved the eBay listing, made contact with the seller, and then the listing disappeared. It had been sold offline, so to speak. But I'd already sent the seller a question, asking a little bit about it, and a few days later the seller's wife contacted me, saying the bike was for sale again, did I want it? After a little bit of toing and froing, I bought the bike, and it came from Queensland, which is at the other end of the country from me, and it arrived in 3 boxes. And if you want, you can go back and watch the still picture videos and see the boxes arriving. It was a bit of a basket case. Actually, more than a bit of a basket case. It was a full-blown basket case. But that's how I like them. This is a lightweight bike, a 269cc Villiers 2-stroke motor in it. And it rides reasonably well for the age of the bike. The bike was sold to me as 1916. But by any measure, that's probably not completely correct. I suspect it's probably slightly later than that, but there's no one left to argue with about what year it was made. The engine certainly is a bit later. The engine's more like 1920. It's a B prefix motor, so that makes it 1920-ish. Now, the bike itself. For the purist, again, as I've said years before, I'm not a rivet counter. The bike isn't 100% correct. I worked with what I had, made the rest, and that's the way it is. Elliott's only exist in tiny, tiny, tiny numbers. Maybe there's 30 in Australia, according to a little bit of an expert on the topic. This bike can sort of have its owner's trace for the last 40 years, and I'm the first person to actually get it running. So, here it is. And so, here it is. This is the bike. Having a close in look at the front end, you can see I've put a reproduction front wheel in it. These wheels come from Brian Forth in South Australia, and they come out of Thailand. They're repop wheels with metric bearings fitted inside the hubs. I made the axles and everything went together really well. So they're new wheels. Those of you who've seen me, I'm a bigger man, and the wheels I had were not original to the bike and needed complete rebuilds and would have needed re-spoked anyway. The guards are repops, and they were brand new when I got them. The guard stays I had one of, I think, for the whole bike, and I made the rest to suit. The arms on the forks didn't have them. The forks were just free of the bike. I had those made from a pattern that I got off a set of what I believed were Elliott forks. The bars came with the bike. Are they original to the bike? Well, I believe so. They're terrible to ride with because they're pulled straight back towards you. The modern motorcycle, or even the motorcycle of the 20s, late teens, the handlebars are more straight out and easier to ride. This is quite a challenge to ride. The throttle is later. I have parts of the original throttle, but I don't have a complete one. So it is just a lever that you operate the throttle with. On the other side is a decompression lever, and we'll have a look at that when I turn the bike around. Got an oil pump that really is no longer necessary. The bike probably had a two-stroke motor in it that they fed oil into as well, or could have had a four-stroke motor that they force-fed oil into it. I've kept the oil pump and run it down purely for looks, so that, but you know, with modern fuels and modern oils, it's just not required. The engine came in parts to me. I had it completely rebuilt. It's got fresh rings in it, a fresh big end in it, fresh bronze bushings that the crank spins in, all had the electrics rebuilt, and that's a brand new 9¼ inch magneto cover. The exhaust was made by a friend. He did a beautiful job, fabricated it out of parts he had. Is it original? No. Does it look original? Yes. The footboards were an eBay purchase. Somebody had recast them, and then I made all the mounting hardware and mounted it all up. I believe that the gear change lever is correct, and is a bolt-on item, and it's come up beautifully. It looks really good. The nickel plating, something that's expensive, but is worth it in the long run. I made the linkage down to the gearbox, and the gearbox changes just fine. 2-speed box, high speed and low speed, neither of them very quick. Bump start, kickstarters were an optional extra at that time. The carburettor is a later carburettor, built out of new old stock parts. Came from a man by the name of Rory Wintershield. And Rory, if you ever watch this, thanks for the carby, it's perfect. Looking back, you can see the tailpipe runs right down the bike. And here we have the rear guard. Again, it was a repop. I made all of the hardware, made the guard stays, made the nuts and bolts, did the hot riveting, and it's a new wheel. The wheel came to me again from Brian Forth, and it's lovely. The belt drive rim on the other side, that's an original, and we'll get to that in a minute. The rear stand, I made it. Didn't have one, only had vague pictures of what they look like. So I did my best and made the rear stand. That's the right hand side of the bike. We'll turn it round and we'll have a look at the left hand side of the bike. Well, we come in and have a look at the left hand side of the bike. It's what I think is a really pretty little bike. It's styled really beautifully, but very much in the realms of a vintage or veteran bike. Again, just coming in on the girder forks, looking at them, had a lot of nickel plating done because I enjoy it. It looks good. The tank, I believe to be original. The filler necks are not. I bought them in the US, had them shipped here and had them silver soldered into the tank. Local guy did it. They have come up nickel plated. They look period correct. Are they correct? No, but they look about right and they look good. You work with what you got. The seat is an original, slightly earlier seat frame, probably in the noughties, maybe early teens. A gentleman in Adelaide recovers them and remoulds them with hide and presses the logos into them. It's really, really lovely. I probably paid top dollar for it, but I think it sets the bike off. Is it exactly of the era? Probably not. but just a lovely seat, and it came up really well. You look into the engine. See the engine. It's small, 269 cc's. Gets along reasonably well. The more oil that's in it, the more it seals up the crankcase pressure. There's no seals in the engine. It works on a push and pull of grease and oil in long bronze bushings. The brake pedal was manufactured or altered by me from something else, and all the mechanism you see there was fabricated from items that I could find and items that I could use. It functions really, really well. The rod works really, really well, and the brakes are probably as good as they'll ever be. The wise among you will recognise that that's a Douglas brake mechanism, or the shoe with the wood on it is, and I altered it and made all the mounting and the arm to get it to work, and it functions really well. The belt rim took about 2 years to find. I ended up buying it from Tasmania. Was sold as Sun, Waratah or such like. Oddly enough, it fits perfectly and it lined up perfectly. The wheel builder I used was staggered what good condition it was in. I think it cost $20. Didn't cost $20 by the time I'd had it fitted, powder coated and done, but it was great. But it did take a long time for that to eventuate. The chain guard, it's pretty rough. It was made by a friend, but it serves a purpose and keeps part of your trousers out of the chain. The belt, believe this or not, is Caterpillar bulldozer fan belt that's had the edges shaved to fit, that a rather eccentric friend did for me, and it transformed the bike. The belt slip is minimal. It is so robust that I don't think it'll ever wear out. And if I didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't know. You'd look at it closely and think, wonder what he got that V-belt off. But it works really, really well. Coming around the back of the bike, I bought a stand clip off eBay and hard riveted it on, and it works really, really well because you can lock it off and the stand doesn't vibrate and fall down. It's ever so slightly crooked, which annoys me, but that's what happens when you're hot riveting. You're belting it in and you've got what you've got. The bike itself is probably one of my favourite things. I love the way it looks. I love the colour. Yes, for the purist, I know it shouldn't be orange. It should be daub green, but I don't like the daub green. I like the orange, so that's what colour I painted it. The tank decal I just had made. I didn't really like the decals that you see the old bikes with, so I just had it made in gold and just affixed it on, and it sits on really well. Well, that's my Elliott Payneham, about 1916. It was restored by me. It's not perfect. I've had it for 5 or 6 years. It took 5.5 of those years to get it to this point. It is finished. I have ridden it. Not since I painted it. I rode it before I painted it. Can't quite bring myself to put fuel in it or get it dirty at this point. I love it so much just the way it is. And it's not really a rider's bike. It is more of a enjoyment to look at. It's not worth a lot of money, but it's priceless to me. I hope you've had a great week, and I hope you've enjoyed Flat Tank Friday. I'll try harder to ride next week. Bye for now.